guys, Asher coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video, guys. I'm glad to have you all here, sending some love, some positive vibes your way, especially if you need it out there. Today, I'm here to defend my honor, damn it. I'm here to defend my honor. You know why? Because a lot of you guys had something to say about my last champion ranking video.
Please don't ever tell anyone that I cried.
I'm here to double down, and I've taken your comments, and today, in all sincerity, I'm going to either admit where maybe I was a little bit wrong on my list, or I am going to double down and, you know, talk about why I named whatever champion at whatever rank that I did in that video. As I said in the intro, that clearly some of you guys fast forwarded through, judging by how bothered some people are by champion rankings in a video game. That being said, though, it's kind of fun to have the passion here. I don't take it personally. Maybe I should, but I don't. But there's like 100 champions in this game that you could list as a top 25 champion in the game, right? It depends on what you value and where you value it. And it depends on where you are in your account progression. And are you into PvP? Are you into PvE? What do you appreciate? Do you love ally attackers? Do you love revivers? Blah, 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 right? That being said, well, you know what? Let's just get to it. Let's just get to it here. Disclaimers have been out of the way. Let's get to the comments. Let's get to the hate. So let's start with Josh Burklum. He says, this list is terrible. Krisk 5 spots higher than Marichka or Taurus. LOL. Godseeker better than Mythical Lizard at number 18 overall. LOL. This just feels like you're hyped about Crixia and wanting to put her number 1 on a list after pulling. LOL. Okay, so let's talk about that. First of all, let's talk about these individually, right? Krisk over Marichka and Taurus. So first of all, Marichka and Taurus are freaking incredible, right? Put them both top 10 on the list. I think they're amazing, right? The meta has certainly adjusted to how to respond to these champions in terms of PvP, but they're still some of the most used in the arena. I think they're both top 10 champions, right? That being said, Krisk, I think that his overall versatility, especially if you're not endgame, you have to take into consideration, right? First of all, that 90% of my viewers are still players that are progressing in this game, right? They're not like endgame arena, et cetera, et cetera. Now, obviously, you can use Krisk, Marichka, and Taurus all very effectively in progression. Don't get me wrong, but I love that Krisk brings a lot of, you know, he's very versatile with the increased speed, with the debuffs on the passive, with the ally protect, with the buff extension, with the provoke, right? With the AOE in the decreased speed. I just feel like that turtle, right? You can just slot him into any team, anywhere, and he just makes your account. He's an absolute game changer.
Put your word out. I will pay top dollar to find this guy.
So should he be 5 spots above Marichka or Taurus? I don't know. You could definitely argue that, and I wouldn't disagree. So like, I think I'm pretty, you know, okay, maybe Marichka should belong where Krisk was on my list, you know? So I'll give him that. Godseeker better than Mythical Lizard and number 18 overall. Well, Godseeker and I said this on the list, and I know a lot of people commented on this as well, that I put Godseeker top 20 on the list. I think that Godseeker and Neri is so unique, and I value that uniqueness, I guess, right? I value the fact that, like, if you have a Godseeker and a Chronom or a Ninja or a Walking Tomb Drang, that allows you to just, like, basically easily cheese a dungeon, you know? Moreover, like, she's just so unique with that passive and the revive and resetting the cooldown of the skills. I do think that people unfairly maybe penalize her because she's an epic. I think if she was a legendary, she'd still be incredibly unique.
It might not be conscious racism, but it is racism.
I don't know. That's how I feel about her. What about Crixia, though? So a lot of people, probably the most hate that I got on this list was Crixia at number 1, right? So sorry to spoil it if you haven't watched the video, but now you know.
Well, yeah.
So Crixia number 1. First of all, dude, I'm the type of person, whether you want to believe me or not, I don't care. I'm just going to tell you the truth. I'm the type of person that actually always tries to combat biases in life, right? I'm not one of those individuals that is going to how do I articulate this? I always am extra critical of things that I have or things that I believe, and I challenge all of my most fervent beliefs in life, right? Always to my detriment. That being said, is I thought Crixia was number one before I pulled her, right? I even said that. I even ranked her number one previously to pulling her.
Why don't you believe me?
Let's quickly go over why. Just because, and I'm going to spend a lot less time on future comments, but I'm going to talk about a lot of champions in today's video, but this was the number one issue that people took in this video was Crixia at number one. So I want to go ahead and talk about it for a second. I want to review her kit again. And kind of double down on this because I actually still think she's number one. But I also want to go ahead and compare because there was so many comments on how you can't even compare her in the arena, Crixia, to Ataris and Marichka. So I went to Gold 3, Gold 4. This is Marichka, by the way.
I assume I need no introduction.
Marichka, Gold 4, pick rate 33%, ban rate 14%, win rate 56%, okay? Taurus, this is Taurus here. Taurus, Gold 4, pick rate 42%, ban rate 21%, win rate 53%. Night Queen Crixia, Gold 4, pick rate is going to be lower. So I have to, you know, in all fairness, not many people have, she's a mythical, she's harder to get, right? Her ban rate at 43% is double Taurus's ban rate. It's way higher than, you know, 3 times plus Marichka's ban rate. Her win rate is higher than all of them, right? At 57%, almost 58%. You go down to Gold 3, Gold 2, you're gonna see the same thing, right? The same thing. Now, granted, because, and keep in mind in gold, you can't have the same champion on both teams. So it's not like the higher use rate correlates to higher or lower win rates because both players are using her, you know? So, I mean, for people like, listen, if you like Taurus and Marichka better than Crixia, that's cool. I get it, man. I get it. They're all amazing. You know, I almost feel foolish repeating it over and over again. They're all awesome. And should I have had Taurus and Marichka a bit higher, especially Marichka? Yeah, I think I think I had her like 8 or something on the list or so. Yeah, I probably should have had her higher because she is insanely good and there's no doubt about it. So I should have put Marichka higher in hindsight. Taurus, you know, listen, man, I think Taurus is a beast. He's a top 10 champion of the game, right? A lot of people say he's number one, not even close, and that's cool, man. I respect your opinion. But for me, you know, I mean, I feel like in PvP, I'm not as scared as Taurus as I used to be anymore. I'm in Gold 3, by the way, in Live Arena, you know? And I have all these champions, by the way. I'm not speaking out of school or anything like that. So, yeah, man, I'm just not as scared as Taurus as I used to be. Not to say that he's not the most threatening nuker in the game still, but I feel like we've come up with a lot of ways to counter, like, as time goes by. And who knows, maybe the same thing will be said for Crixia. But Night Queen Crixia, I feel like I put her in the category of more of a Yumeko or a Warlord, right? And I think that those champions are, you know, they're incredibly good, right? There's a reason they're banned all the time, right? I can barely play Night Queen Crixia in Live Arena because she's banned every time. Yes, even over a Taurus and Marichka. You can make the case, though, as a counterpoint, because I want to be fair, that she's more of a disruptor than those champions. Not that she's better, but she's more of a disruptor. But let's review really quickly my number one choice.
What's your tongue, boy? Well, you still got one.
Because whether you were comparing her to Taurus and Marichka, or whether you were comparing her to another champion out there in the game, a lot of you said that I was just biased by pulling her, even though I'd already said that in other videos. And I can, you know, go look at my top mythical champion. In that video, I was like, not only is she the best mythical, I think she's probably the argument to be had best champion. Anyway, each has a chance of increasing the duration of all debuffs on the target by 1 turn, okay? This is her A1 ability. 2-time hitter. That's a really good A1. Don't need to tell you guys, you already know it, right? Every single debuff by 1 turn on each hit, fantastic. It's like a little mini Vizier, okay? Decreased resistance, block buffs on all enemies on a 3-turn cooldown. So decreased resistance, big version, block buffs for 2 turns, and decrease each target's turn meter by 20% at the same time. Then we got the A3. This is attacks all enemies. It removes all their buffs from all enemies and increases the cooldown of all their skills by 3 turns. To me, it's the best opening move in the arena right now, period, right? Removing all buffs and decreasing skills is insanely good. I don't need to really articulate why, do I? She's also immune to stun, increases the champion's accuracy by 1 for every 2 resistance they have. So if you build her with, you know, either you can prioritize super tanky high resist build and then you build in the accuracy to help you out with all the debuffs that she's bringing in the A3 on this form that she's bringing. And then you have kind of a little bit of a Mithrala vibe going on, right? Where she has a ton of resistance and accuracy, makes her even more of a disruptor and tough to deal with. So that's her base form. She has resist in all battles. And then on her other form, I want to start with her A3 because she's got Night Purge. This is a, the other half of a Dance of Time Yumeko and like a little Kaimar action going on. Decrease the cooldown of all ally skills except this champion by 3 turns on a 5-turn cooldown, right? Insanely good ability. You can use this on Seer reset teams, on Poison Combust reset teams, on, any speed farming team, right? Or it's just good in the arena. It's good everywhere, right? It's also cleansing all allies at the same time. There's no ability like this in the game, right? Super powerful. She's immune to sleep in this form. Increase her speed by 1 for every 10 resistance she has. Stacks up to extra 50 speed. I mean, it's easy to get an extra 50 speed on this champion in this form. Okay, how about an AoE with block debuffs and an increased resistance on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown? How about a turn meter boost on all allies by 20% on the 3-turn cooldown? A chance of decreasing the duration of all debuffs on a random ally on her A1 on this form on each hit, 60% chance. I don't know, man. I mean, if you disagree, that's fine. Like I said, man, I mean, it might not be your cup of tea. You might not like all this stuff. It's cool. But I stand by it, man, and it's not because I pulled her. I think she's insanely good. Such a verse. She's doing so much in one champion. Anyway, I've made my point. So I'm doubling down. Even in the arena, people are saying she's way worse. I think she's one of the best arena. She's the best arena champion or one of in the game, right? So I double down. Have I changed any of your minds, right?
In advance against the Sal, you take your commission.
40%.
Josh, what do you think, man? Did I prove my point, dude?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was sleeping.
Anyway, next, Jirigid. I'm just going to kind of rattle through because I spent 10 minutes talking about Crixia. But again, that was the number one, controversy, I will say.
Get over it already.
Jirigid, best arena nuker, says Hector. So a couple comments about Jirigid not being on the list. I'm actually a massive fan of the Nutcracker. I think that, listen, if any of you out there want to do this, I would not ask you to do this because it takes a while actually, and it's tough. But leave in the comments your top 25 in order, right? And you'll see by doing that exercise that you're going to snub amazing champions no matter what, right? So Jirigid, I think you can make a case he's a top 20 champion in the game. Certainly a top 5-3 nuker in the game, right? Certainly maybe the best attack-based nuker in the game. I think you can make those cases. He was on the list originally, and I just had to kind of pare things down a little bit. But yeah, I agree. Jirigid should be, I feel like, a top 25. You could say the same thing about like a champion like a Baron too. I'd rather have Jirigid over a Baron. But Baron's damn good too with his Sky Piercer, or a Kandrafon, it's tough. Even if you list the best attack-based nukers in the game, I don't think any of them made the list. Only a couple, only maybe 1 or 2. Going on here, Joe Gray says, agree with most of the list, having most of the champions using them myself. Only a couple I sneak in on my personal list, and I like that he did what not many people did in the comments. He, cute kiddo, by the way, here, Joe. He did something where he actually said who he'd take off, which is really, I appreciate that, because that's the challenge. Who are you going to take off the list? One of the most underrated champions is Raglan, built high resist and in Relentless. Nobody stays down with her in the team. She's constantly cleansing, healing, boosting turn meter, and reviving when needed. Another favorite of mine is Solus, tanky, provoke, debuff extension, and hard hitting. Also, Rotos deserves a top spot. Maybe biased, but I have him awaken +4, and he one-shots pretty much anybody. Yeah, I think that's my bad on Rotos. I do not agree with Raglan or Solus being top 25. Back when I started playing, Raglan was certainly maybe a top 5 4 years ago. She was like the #1 most wanted champion. Her, Valkyrie, and Martyr. I remember that was what everybody was talking about. But Rotos should have been on the top 25. All right, next up. No Rio or Shuzen? A Supreme Galek is probably the top 5 Hydra champ is also missing. Teo and Arbis wouldn't have made my list. Theodore and Arbase, the mythical champion, wouldn't have made my list. Valkyrie's a close one as well because, well, let's not forget Jirigid, Rhodos, and Leo didn't make the list. So to be clear, I had Theodore the Savant, Arbase, the mythical Sylvan Watcher, and Valkyrie on my list. He's saying that Jirigid, Shuzen, Rio, Rhodos, and Leo should have been on the list, and Supreme Galek. Well, we're getting into dangerous territory. Maybe it's my fault for even trying to make this stupid list, right? But clearly everybody has their own answers. I personally think that Rio Bonespear is amazing. And so is Shuzen. You know, I have both of them. I wouldn't put Supreme Galek on the list. I think I agree he's a top 5 Hydra champion or in the conversation. Maybe top 10, I don't know. He's close, right? But I do think that he's like a superstar in one area and maybe, you know, an A instead of like an S+++ in a lot of other areas. But again, man, you could definitely make the case and I wouldn't really argue with you. Jirigid, Rhodos, and Leo, hard to snub, especially when you put them like all like that. It's like, dude, what am I thinking? But I want to ask you guys, would you, let's just use these 6 champions, Theodore the Savant, Arbase, and Valkyrie, or Jirigid, Rhodos, and Leo. Who would you rather have out of those that combo? Cardiel and Taurus, way higher, brother. I think I had Cardiel around 15-ish, I want to say, and I had Taurus around 10-ish, you know? So, yeah, I mean, to me, if I had him on the list, it's, you know, maybe I shouldn't have ranked them in order. Maybe that was my problem, right? Because they're all, yeah, in a vacuum, I would say they should probably be, maybe they should be higher, right?
I can't help it if my fame lives on.
Marichka and Taurus are top 2 by far, says Front Gecko 42. I think this is, again, to be totally fair, I think this is thinking as of like maybe, I don't know, I mean, what can I say, right? What can I say? Maybe number 2 or 3, but I still think that Crixie is number 1. Geomancer and Godseeker are legendaries in epic form. They both carry me from stage 16 dungeon to hard mode. They definitely deserve to be on the list. On the other hand, I think Elva deserves a spot on the list alongside Duchess. So I personally think Duchess is better than Elva, but Elva's really good. Elva Autumnborn is actually, I pulled her, who is over here that I pulled? Oh, I actually pulled Shuzen the Valorious on yesterday's video. Anyway, Elva Autumnborn, man, she's really good, right? She got that nice base speed. She got the nice heal, the perfect veil on the ally lowest HP at the end of the champion's turn on the passive. She got the continuous heal on the A1, makes her amazing for Ice Golem areas like that. She's got the cleanse, the block debuffs, and the increased speed, and the revive on a 3-turn cooldown. It's a really good kit. Speed in all battles 19 as well. But again, as you know, this is one of those tough decisions where it's just like, yeah, she's borderline to me, borderline. Could you make a case that Elva Autumnborn is better than a, I don't know, Godseeker and Eerie? Yeah, absolutely you could. But again, I gave Godseeker the unique points, you know, for example. But let me know. Shame on you. Again, you ignore Rhodos, who is still one of the best nukers. Yeah, man. Rhodos. I think that I made a mistake, but I think I already said this, but I think I should have included Rhodos. But the question is always, who would you take off the list, right? Because inevitably, whoever I took off the list would have said that that person should have been, where's that person? You know what I'm saying? I think I had Sun Wukong as like number 25 or 24 on the list. So if I had left Sun Wukong off and put Rhodos there instead, would people have been all up in arms about Sun Wukong not being on the list? I don't know. Either way, Rhodos is an absolute monster, man. Like, I have him fully empowered as well. And I think I have him 4-star awakened or 5. And I use him all the time, you know? But I think, and you can tell this from my list too, right? I tried to pick like my favorite single target nukers, my favorite AoE nukers, and I tried to not just go all nuking heavy just for some diversification. I don't know though. Rhodos should have been there. Let's be real. Rhodos should have been there. So shame on me indeed.
Maybe you have to stop hating yourself first.
You snubbed Ninja, who's the biggest damage skill aside from max HP skills on bosses, says Robert Sumner. So Ninja. I love me some Ninja. And again, it's hard to argue with Hailburn, especially the way it synergizes with the Scion Slash, decreasing the cooldown, blah, 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 placing the burns and activating the burns on the same ability. The thing on Ninja is, though, I feel like with champions like a Walking Tomb Drang, champions like, depending on what you're looking for, right? But I'm talking about burn activation, champions like Chronum, subsequently added to the game. I feel like there's other options there. He still does it the best, you know? But then to his point, aside from max HP skills, well, there's a lot of great max HP champions as well, right? I think I ranked Newt as number 5 overall in the game. Crisia is obviously, I think I put her number 4 overall on my list. So yeah, man, I think that Ninja is a beast, and you can make the argument that I snubbed him, but I don't regret not putting him in the top 25. I agree with almost all you that you said. Oh, a nice comment. I would have put Cardio as number 2. So there was a lot of comments about Cardio being snubbed around 15. Mithrala as number 3. Krisk is number 4. And this is what you get into in the comments too. A lot of people contradicting other comments who are like, Krisk is not even top 10. And this guy's like, Krisk is number 4. And some people are like, Mithrala is not even top 10. And some people are like, Mithrala is number 1. It's personal opinion, which is why I love videos like this. And I get a whole nother video out of it to respond to you guys. I fused Lady Mikage and I pulled Night Queen Crixia, who I think that of December 23 is the number 1 champion in the game. Right now anyway. All right, so somebody who agrees with me. I didn't mean to include somebody who agrees with me, but we get Krisk over Grazer for me because I had them back to back on my list. Grazer, Iron Gut, and Krisk. Mithrala is way too high. I could see her at 20, but no way she's higher than Sify, Duchess, Krisk, or even Theodore. So one dude wants Theodore off the list. One dude wants Mithrala down. I did get a few comments on Mithrala being ranked too high. I mean, what can I say? This is where it comes down to the point that I made at the top of the video, guys, where I think when I'm looking at this list, I'm thinking about like starting an account from scratch and like the progression that a champion can help you with, not just endgame, even though Mithrala is absolutely an endgame champion. But I mean, her base stats are insane, right? She got accuracy in all battles. She got the petrification and hex synergy, which is such a nuisance and so good in the arena. But really this one line, increases the champion's resistance equal to the amount of accuracy she has, makes her basically be able to resist anything as long as it cannot be resisted in the arena, right? It's such a powerful little addition to the kit. There's an already incredibly robust kit. So her passive is so strong. This petrification is the strongest debuff in the game. And there's only 2 champions that have it, and she's got it, you know? She's got the full cleanse, the big version of strengthen, a big beefy shield based on 30% of her max HP. She got the AoE hex, which is so important in this game now. She got the increased defense, the increased attack on the same ability on a 3-turn cooldown. Man, I might be wrong here, obviously, but to me, maybe she's undervalued because she's fairly easy to get compared to most Void legendaries. I think she's so good. I think that kid is so good. The cleanse, strengthen, increased defense, increased attack, petrification, can resist anything. I don't know. Anyway, so I stand by Mithrala, even though a lot of people took issue to it. So it seems that I'm in the minority there on my Mithrala love, at least that much Mithrala love. Krisk over Grazer. I would actually put Grazer, I think I put Grazer a little bit over Krisk. I actually forgot, but they're really close to me. They're really close. I think Michinaki for sure. So I actually put in the pinned comment of that video that my personal snubs, like when editing or not editing, but reviewing the edits, I love you, Osama. Reviewing the edits of that video, my biggest things like, oh, how could I have forgotten those 2 champions, were Michinaki and Artak. Those are the 2 that I regretted not having on the list. And honestly, what I do for lists like this, just a little tear down the 4th wall, is I took like 3 or 4 tier lists on Raid, on the internet, right? I use like Hades site and Ayumi Love and a few others, right? And I basically just aggregate and to make sure I'm not missing anybody, and then I make my own list, right? And for whatever reason, I might have just missed a couple, or they didn't have them ranked as their top 100 champions or whatever. Anyway, Michinaki, dude, I think we don't need to read the rationale. I think I forgot about Michinaki. He's so good, dude. He's doing so much. And it's funny because he was one of the champions that people didn't talk about a lot when he was added to the game. But man, he's an absolute stud. You know, he's definitely one of those champions that you do not want to build, or do not want to empower if you're lucky enough to pull 2. You definitely want to build that dupe because he's so effective, especially in Hydra. But he's a defense-based debuffer. He's got decrease attack on enemies under Hex, but he's bringing the Hex and a buff removal. He smacks, he hits hard. He has a chance of joining in on attacks with a burn on the A1. Does a ton of damage and just brings so much to the table as well. But you know, I wonder who you guys would choose between a Supreme Galek and a Mishinaki if I was only going to include one of those guys on the list, right? It's hard to choose, man. It kind of brings you into the mind space here. Artak belongs top 25 all around PvP and PvE. I don't personally consider Artak a beast in PvP. Do any of you guys? Let me know if you do. But in PvE, I absolutely agree with Elite here. Elite Ways, that is. So yeah, man, I snubbed Artak. He should have been on the list. Always hard to narrow down a list like this with so many great champions that will get snubbed. Personally, I would replace Sun Wukong with Ragash, Leo, or Mishinaki. They're all very close. You can't go wrong with any of them. Great list. Very entertaining to watch as always. Thank you. So Sun Wukong is interesting, man. He's the most used champion.
And I don't like it one bit.
Obviously, he was free. I get that. But to me, he's the most used champion in Arena right now. And even in Gold 3, Gold 4, I mean, let's check his use rates. They're extremely, extremely high. He's a lot of people's first choice in the arena. So let's just check his stats here. Let's see. In Gold 4, he's got a pick rate of 23%. His win rate is super low, though. So his win rate goes up quite a bit in Gold 3. Pick rate still very, very high. Now, of course, this is the chicken or the egg. Is his pick rate so high because he was free for everybody? But people in Gold 2, Gold 3, and Gold 4, let's face it, man, they're spending a lot of money in this game. Most of them, not all, but most. So it's still testament that he's used that much. But man, Ragash is so good. So is Leo and Mishinaki. I don't know if I would have replaced Sun Wukong, though. I'm surprised Nekmo Thar wasn't a top 25 champ. I love Nekmo Thar. He might be just my personal favorite Hydra clan boss champion in the game. But I do think that, you know, Dark Fae, Hydra, I think that, I don't know. I was going to say he's a little bit like more narrow in terms of his use case, but he's really good, dude. I really love Nekmo. But again, kind of just a borderline case study. Trunda's really fallen out of the meta for Arena, especially like live Arena, high-end Arena. That being said, she's still good for Arena, like great hall farming, and she's obviously the queen of damage in Hydra Clan Boss, specifically, you know, hard difficulty, like, you know, the lower difficulty. She can do some amazing things, which with Hydra Clash is just as important as the highest difficulties. That being said, though, she's borderline for me. I'm not sure who I would take off for her, though. Nishak, I still use him to clear Doom Tower because I don't have a poison instant activator, and neither do I have a seer. Nishak is an absolute beast. Nishak and Gaius the Gleeful are my favorite bomb champions in the game, but I actually would give it to Nishak because even though if Gaius is a little bit more effective maybe in PvP, I think that Nishak, all the value that he provides in PvE would put him over the top. Again, kind of just a borderline champion. It's easy to say that he should have made the list, and it's harder to pick, for me at least, who would be off the list. It's really hard to make a top 25 in the game today, but definitely Ramen 2 should have been on the list. He can make the most of these champs just useless in PvP. Unless you have a cleanser. Unless you have a cleanser on your team, unless you got a Pythion, right, or a Mithrala or whatever. That being said, Ramen 2 is a beast. But again, I mean, I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself, so I'll wrap the video here because at this point, it's just going to be really good champions, which just goes to my point in the beginning of the video. Maybe it was a foolish task to undertake to begin with to try to rank these champions because I'm asking for people to share their favorites, but also, I don't regret it because that's the fun in doing these, right? And I think if I ever do a future list like this, I'm absolutely going to make a follow-up video responding to the comments to give a little bit of love to snub champions, but also at the same time, just to have more conversations because I really enjoy this. And sometimes they can make you appreciate champions that maybe you are snubbing a little bit, you know? So hopefully you've enjoyed this rebuttal episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching until the end. And as always, take care, guys.